Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Fish Out of Water by Maryjanice Davidson, narrated by Devon Sorvari. I love treason, but hate a traitor. Julius Caesar. It's silly to go on pretending that under the skin we are all brothers. The truth is more likely that under the skin we are all cannibals, assassins, traitors, liars, hypocrites, poltroons. Henry Miller. A mermaid's not a human thing, and courtin' sich is folly. Of flesh and blood I'd rather sing what ain't so melancholy. Lost and Given Over, E.G. Brady. A reporter meets interesting people. If he endures, he will get to know princes and presidents, popes and paupers, prostitutes and panderers. Jim Bishop. Time Magazine. Is it true that if you help a mermaid, you get one wish? Frederica Bim. Shut up. Fuck the fathers. They should know better. Pat Conroy, The Prince of Tides. Prologue. He stared, transfixed. His people were showing themselves to the world. How could the royal family, the king, go along with this? It went against centuries of tradition and ingrained behavior. He instantly started figuring out how he could turn the situation to his advantage. Chapter 1. Excuse me, but are you a mermaid? Why? Fred was poking through the large, airy kitchen and trying not to show how impressed she was with the ocean view. She knew the realtor would pick up on it like a bloodhound to sweat. Do I get a discount? Show us your fin and we'll show you 10% off? Like that? The realtor colored, which, given that she had the creamy complexion natural to most redheads, gave the impression that she was about to have a stroke. Fred wondered how long it would take for the paramedics to show. I didn't mean anything by it, she coughed. It's just your hair. I know. Don't tell me. I fired my stylist. Fred fussed with the ends of her green hair, which were now chin-length as opposed to tumbling halfway down her back. Much easier to take care of, though her friend Jonas had shrieked like he'd been stabbed when he'd seen it. And I'm still getting grief about it from my friend. My stupid, irritating friend. But it's blue. Technically, it's green. She opened a cupboard to see how deep it was. You know how the ocean looks blue, but it's really green? Same with my... Does the garbage disposal work? What? Yes, and the house comes with all the appliances as well as lawn maintenance. So, are you? I don't know. It's pretty expensive. And what do I need 4 bedrooms for? You know what that'll mean for me? Drop-in guests. Say, Fred, you've got plenty of room. We're staying here for a month. Any idea how much I hate drop-ins? I hate them like a fat kid hates Slim Fast. Besides, I live in a Boston apartment most of the year. Mowing a lawn would actually be a treat for me. No, I meant... Are you a mermaid? The term is Undersea Folk. Yes. Are you? The realtor was actually leaning toward Fred with the urgency of her question. Fred found she was backed up against the dishwasher, close enough to count the threads in the buttons of the realtor's blouse. Because I know I've seen you on TV, on the news. I'm sure of it. So are you? Why? Are you afraid you won't be able to track down all my references? Fred sidled away from her and walked through the dining area. This entire side of the house had enormous windows, all which boasted ocean views of the Gulf side. It was 2:30 p.m. on Sanibel Island, Florida, February 11th, and she was walking around inside a house that would sell painlessly for $5 million, even with the housing market deep in the shitter as it was. The realtor was asking $5,000 a week to rent it out. Also, you swam in from the ocean side. Most people drive to the house. Is this your not-too-subtle way of bitching about me tracking salt water all over the floors? Because I had to work off the brownie sundae I had for breakfast. What about the washer and dryer? Right through here. The realtor, whose name Fred had forgotten, opened a door off the kitchen and gestured. Fred peeked around the corner and observed a full-sized washer-dryer combo in a spotlessly clean laundry room. The entire first floor, except for the bathroom, was one gigantic room. The front hall leading to the dining area, leading to the kitchen, leading to the living room, leading to a large porch which ran nearly the length of the house. The walls were the color of coffee mate. The furniture and decor were done in modern millionaire. All the windows were thrown wide, and a fresh breeze made the curtains billow. Upstairs were several bedrooms and 3 more bathrooms, one with a jacuzzi big enough for a soccer team. 2 of the bedrooms boasted ocean views as well. The cream-colored walls made the large house appear even more spacious. Fred stared thoughtfully out over the lawn, eyeing the outdoor jacuzzi and swimming pool. Her boyfriend/suitor/someday sovereign, Prince Artur, had encouraged this move, and she had to admit it wasn't the worst idea she'd ever heard. Ever since Undersea Folk had started coming out of the water closet, she'd been fielding interviews and handling the press and, in general, acting as go-between for the royal family, the Undersea Folk, and surface dwellers. As a result, the world was assuming the Undersea Folk's primary residence was here, just off the coast of Sanibel Island. They were wrong, which suited the king just fine. But Fred craved her own space to retreat to, and never mind Artur's argument that she could use the ocean as an escape hatch. The ocean. Yuck. Seaweed and barracudas and mouthy fish. Mouthy telepathic fish, anyway, and silt, and frankly, she vastly preferred a pool to the large, messy ocean. Yes, she needed her own space, and perhaps this zillion-dollar mansion was it. Although her stepfather was wealthy, he hadn't flaunted it when she was a kid, and although she had a healthy trust fund, she'd always been content with her little one-bedroom apartment in Boston. This place, though. Artur had pointed out that, as the girlfriend of the prince, she needed more than a teeny Boston apartment. How had he put it? Some place worthy of our future queen. Amazing she even remembered what he'd said. She'd been laughing so hard. I don't know, she said. It's really big, and... The front door boomed open, and there stood Prince Artur. Well over 6 feet, with shoulder-length hair the color of smashed rubies and eyes almost the same shade. He hadn't shaved for a couple of weeks, and his beard was also a deep red. His shoulders were so broad, and he was so tall, he barely fit in the doorway. He was shirtless and barefoot, and clad only in a pair of denim shorts. "Ho, little Rika, is the cottage to your liking?" He frowned, glancing around. "It looked more fitting from the outside." Fred smirked at the gaping realtor. Now, he's a mermaid, so to speak. Chapter 2. "I was told this would be a suitable residence for my little Rika," Prince Artur said with a frown. "It's plenty suitable. Don't be such a royal snob." "I do not think it is fitting for one who will one day be queen," Artur persisted with maddening stubbornness. That did it. "I'll take it," Fred told the astonished realtor, who was staring at the prince as if she was in some sort of sex trance. "And I'll pay asking, and all the fees, and sign whatever I need to sign, but I need to move in by the end of the week. Open-ended lease, 6-month minimum, whatever security deposit you need, okay?" The realtor said. "Great, and quit that one day we'll be queen talk, Artur. I've told you before. Just because I'm with you doesn't mean I'm, with you, which technically makes me a tease. Not sure I care for." "Ah, little Rika." Artur snatched at her, but she managed to dodge out of the way, nearly braining herself on the cupboard she'd left open. "One day you will see the wisdom of our love match." "And don't call me that. It's Fred, or Frederica, or Dr. Bim, or Bitch Cakes, or—" "I've seen you on TV, too," the realtor exclaimed. "You're the prince of all the mermaids." "Undersea Folk," Artur and Fred said in unison. "You look just like your dad." Artur inclined his head, the closest thing to a bow he bothered with. "That is my honor, good lady, and you are kind to point it out." "Vomit, vomit, vomit," Fred mumbled. "Let's see, you were on CNN, and People did that big cover story on you guys." The realtor snapped her fingers and pointed at Fred. "I knew you looked familiar. The hair threw me. It was longer in the pictures." "Congrats, Nancy Drew. Why don't you scamper on back to the clubhouse and draw up my damned contract?" "Forgive the lady," Artur said, gallantly offering the dazzled realtor his elbow and walking her to the door. "She has been seeking a temporary home on land for many days, and it has left her in ill humor." "Being saddled with a stupid nickname has left me in a worse humor," Fred bawled after him. "More so than usual, though the thought makes me tremble," he added in a mutter. "How kind you were to show her this small and charming cottage. We are sure you will be as efficient in the rest of our business dealings." "Yeah, thanks a heap," Fred called. "Bye." Oh, yes, of course. Goodbye. Oh, but I can't leave you here since technically this isn't— "The lady and I will be leaving as well." "Oh, you're going to jump back in the ocean, aren't you?" "It's quicker than calling a cab," Fred said, taking a last look around her new home before following Artur out the back door. Chapter 3. Fred stripped out of her shorts, t-shirt, and panties and left them on the lawn. What the hell? In a few days this was going to be her home anyway. She wondered who had left the clothes for her on the lawn in the first place. It's not like she could swim with a tail and a pair of shorts. One of Artur's crew, probably. She shouldn't have been surprised that he'd be underwhelmed by the house. He was used to enormous underwater palaces. When the Undersea Folk built something, they thought big. And why not? Wasn't most of the planet covered with water? They were used to having 3/4 of the planet to spread out in. There was no beach leading to the Gulf. Instead, there was a sharp drop-off and a long dock. She trotted to the end of the dock, cast an amused glance at the shit-caked plastic owls perched on the pier, and dove off, shifting immediately to her tail form. Artur was several feet ahead of her, effortlessly moving through the water with powerful thrusts of his tail. As a hybrid, her tail wasn't as long as his, nor as wide, nor as beautifully colored. Artur's reminded her of a peacock's, all greens and blues, while hers seemed less magnificent, almost dull. "Be grateful you have a tail at all," she reminded herself. She might have taken after her human mother after all, and not have been able to shift. Bad enough she couldn't swim in her legs. Imagine not being able to breathe underwater. She caught up with him after a few more strokes, glaring at a barracuda which was swimming annoyingly close. The fish sneered at her and darted away, the predator's thoughts. "Big thing, can't bite the big thing. Hungry, not big thing," setting up an echo in her mind. "Hey, Artur." "Yes, my dear one." "I gotta say, it was pretty smart of your dad to let the world think your HQ is here." "HQ?" "Headquarters. The seat of the government, or power, or the capital. Everyone thinks it's here instead of the Black Sea." He flipped over and floated on his back, a good 30 feet beneath the waves. She swam beneath him and then over him, waiting for his response. "It will take some time before we can completely trust your mother's people, little Rika. I hope this gives you no offense." "Offense? Who warned you about them in the first place? Let me think. Oh yeah, it was me. You know how many people have been fucked over in the name of scientific advancement? It's pretty damned smart, actually, letting the world think we all hang out here. But one thing your dad's got to spare is brain power. Artur laughed in her head. So true, my Rika. They passed two more undersea folk, a man and a woman, the man with hair the color of daffodils, the woman with hair so pure a black it seemed to swallow up the light. Greetings, my prince. Oh, Prince Artur. Frederica. Fred nodded to them both. It didn't escape her notice that only one had called her by name, though she knew damn well she was notorious enough that all the undersea folk knew her on sight. Notorious. Shit. She was somewhat mystified that it bugged her. She'd never been one to sweat what strangers thought. But damn it, the undersea folk who didn't like her didn't know her. They didn't like her because dear old Dad had been a traitor. Big believers in the whole "the guppy doesn't fall far from the frog" school of thought. And damn it, it wasn't fair. It was fine if someone didn't like her based on her own merits, and the list was long and distinguished, both of her odious faults and the people who didn't like her. But they ought to at least get to know her before they decided she was a shit. I know your thoughts, my Rika. Shall I thrash the one who dared ignore you? Don't make it worse. It's no big deal. Ah, little Rika, your lady mother did not teach you to lie. How unusual for a surface dweller, even one as noble as your mother. Fred had no answer to that. Chapter 4. She spilled her tea when the front door was thrown open. More mermaids, her stepfather, another guy who wanted to shoot her for profit, Time, Newsweek, people? Dum-dum-da-dum, Jonas cried, arms spread, suitcases at his feet. Dum-dum-da-dum. Something nutball this way comes, Fred muttered, dabbing the tea off her shorts and slowly getting up from the couch. It was moving day, and she had been in the house less than 3 hours. She cursed the impulse she'd followed last week to A. give her best friend her new address, and B. send him a spare key. Stupid force of habit. He'd had spare keys to her homes for years. Did this mean, on a subconscious level, she actually wanted him to show up in her life? Stupid subconscious. Ooh, nice digs, Jonas said, lugging his suitcases inside, listing radically to the left under the weight of the two in his hand. Are you finally going to live in the manner to which your stepfather and hot mom are accustomed? Shut up, she said automatically, but as she'd known, he wasn't deterred. He was an exhaustingly cheerful blonde, taller than she, about 6'3", with the mind of an engineer. He designed shampoo for the Aveda Corporation and a black belt in Aikido. He was also the most metrosexual guy on the planet, continually being mistaken for gay, mostly because he insisted on drinking apple teenies, and a loyal friend. They had been best friends since 2nd grade. So check it, he said, kicking one of his suitcases out of the way and crossing the room to plop down on the chair opposite Fred. Barb has given me carte blanche to plan our wedding. Barf, she muttered, because, as you know, she's been through this before. Fred knew. Dr. Barb, her boss at the New England Aquarium, had been married to a real shitheel several years ago. And I've decided, since you're stuck down here playing go-between for Artur's folks and us lowly humans, to burst in on me and make me spill my tea, to have the wedding here on Sanibel Island. Fred tried not to, but she couldn't help it. She groaned. Aw, Jonas beamed. I knew you'd be pleased. He propped his sandaled feet up on the coffee table, admiring his no-polish pedicure for a moment. So, as my best man, so to speak. Fred groaned again. Don't you think I've got enough on my plate right now? Oh, who cares? Also, I bring a message from my blushing bride-to-be who wanted me to remind you that she's still refusing your resignation. For God's sake, Fred said crossly. I haven't set foot in the aquarium for ages. Hey, don't shoot the messenger, doll. I'd like to throttle the messenger. Barb says you're the best marine biologist she's ever hired. Also, since you outed yourself to her as a mermaid, there's no way in hell she's letting you quit. He yawned. So, which room should I take? And so it begins, she muttered. I told that realtor. Pop-ins. I hate pop-ins. Anyway, Jonas said, well used to ignoring her bitching. I'd like the wedding to take place on a private beach, so I'll need your help with that, and also with other wedding minutiae. Can you clear your calendar this week to help me with cake testing? Also, you'll need to buy a ridiculously classy and expensive bridesmaid dress, unless you want to get a tux instead. Can't you just whip out a gun and shoot me in the face? Maybe tomorrow, he said comfortingly. Chapter 5. Fred was trying hard not to glare at the reporter from time and having her usual degree of success. For the 100th time, she questioned the king's wisdom in making her the go-between between surface dwellers and undersea folk. The king's argument, that she was the only half and half on the planet, had seemed so logical at the time. Clearly, he had paid no attention to her poor interpersonal skills. Several countries are offering citizenship to the mermaids. Undersea folk? How do you feel about that? I feel they don't need land citizenship. They've got the run of the oceans. I also think it's typical of humans to assume undersea folk would jump at the chance for U.S. citizenship, because that's where you're going, right? It's not altruistic in any way. America wants dibs on the finned. The reporter, a slender, balding man with warm brown eyes, smiled. Interesting point. Insulting point, actually, but have it your way. So tell me about yourself. Your mother's human, and your father... Next question. The reporter blinked. I understand that some of the undersea folk don't care for you because your father... Next question. Is it true that if you help a mermaid, you get a wish? She stared at him. He chuckled nervously under her gaze and added, Or have I been watching too many movies? It's not true. If you help a mermaid, I get to punch you in the teeth. That's the rule. You're an, unusual diplomat. Take that back. All right. You're a lousy diplomat. Thanks, she said, mollified, thinking, how did I end up here? Now, doing this job with these people. So, would you say the undersea folk are less, warlike than humans? Less warlike? She asked blankly. There's been some talk about the comparisons, and several undersea folk have made no secret of the fact that they don't trust... What do they call us? Surface dwellers. Can you blame them? So you're not denying it. She stifled a sigh. More Homo sapiens arrogance. They're not like us, but we'll find a peg to jam them into anyway. Ugh. Undersea folk are like anyone else. There are saints, there are assholes, but most of them are somewhere in between. Like anyone else on the planet, you need to get to know one before you decide what kind of person they are. And, like anyone else on the planet, you can't say every member of the species acts or talks or thinks the same. Duh. For a moment, she'd thought she'd said it out loud. What she had said out loud was probably bad enough. Oh, this is dynamite, the reporter enthused. Do you mind if I change assholes to jerks? Censorship, she observed. Alive and well in the home of the free. Thick-skinned, like most journalists, he ignored that. And we'll be sending a photographer over to take your picture, say 2 o'clock? Fred grimaced, which the reporter took as a strained smile of acquiescence. And say, how about a demonstration? Can you... we see the Undersea Folk with their tails or with legs, but nobody's ever seen them shift form. Maybe you could... Do I look like a performing seal? So, no. He slapped his notebook shut. Well, thanks for your time, Dr. Bim. She grunted. Say, could I get your autograph for my little girl? She's crazy about mermaids. Oh, Lord, this is punishment for all my sins. Chapter 6. She was resting on the bottom of the pool when she saw Jonas appear, squatting beside the deep end. He looked wavy, yet distinct, and he was wearing a pair of shorts so orange they hurt her eyes. He was gesturing impatiently to her. She ignored him. His gestures became more urgent. She yawned and stretched her arms out over her head, a lazy flick of her tail propelling her halfway to the shallow end. Now he was pointing both middle fingers at her, jabbing the air. She snorted, a stream of bubbles popping to the surface. He leapt in, swam busily for a moment, then tried to grab her arm and haul her to the surface. Oh, pal. Mistake. Jonas must be really agitated, or he'd have remembered she was 3 times stronger and faster. She wriggled easily from his grip, spun him around, grabbed his ankle, and propelled him through the water with a healthy shove. He nearly brained himself on the steps leading into the shallow end, then bobbed halfway to the surface. In fact, maybe he did brain himself, because he was floating face down in the water. Don't fall for that one again. He still wasn't moving. He gets you every time with this one. Maybe she'd pushed it a little far with the roughhousing. Moron! She agreed with her self-assessment, but nonetheless reached him in half a second, seized him by the shirt, and flipped him over. They both bobbed to the surface. He opened his eyes and spat a stream of water at her forehead. We were supposed to be at the caterer's 10 minutes ago. She let go of him in disgust and wiped her face. Must have slipped my mind. Sure. Now get your fishy butt out of this pool, get dressed, and haul ass to the car. You don't need me, she whined. You're way better at this stuff than I am. We're the team supreme, dumbass. Now get going. Shouldn't you be shielding your eyes at the sight of my breathtaking nudeness? Oh, like I haven't seen your knockers every week since the 2nd grade. She giggled in spite of herself. I'm pretty sure I didn't have knockers in the out dress, car, caterer. You know, I'm under a lot of pressure, she grumbled, shifting from tail to legs and stomping up the shallow end steps to the patio. I don't need to take shit from Groomzilla. You be taking a smack in the mouth from Groomzilla if you don't haul ass. Tail. Whatever. She laughed at him. She couldn't help it. Jonas was never more hilarious than when he was pretending to be a badass. Chapter 7. Well, how about this one? If I have to jam one more piece of cake down my gullet, I'm going to vomit all over your baker. The baker, a cadaverously scrawny fellow Fred distrusted on sight. Did he never sample his own product? Why wasn't there an ounce of fat on him? Grimaced, but hauled out more slices on napkins. They were seated practically in the front window at a small table set for 2. A small, romantic table. Silver candlesticks, snow-colored linen napkins, real china. Jonas, of course, was loving it. Fred, not so much. This is one of my favorites, the baker said with quiet insistence. I can't. Jonas remained undaunted and said, between chomps, but it's chocolate. Fred moaned. chocolate with ganache filling, vanilla sponge cake with raspberry filling, carrot cake, blurg, German cake with coconut cream filling, strawberry cake with strawberry jam filling, lemon chiffon with...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?